With Lord of the Rings Rise to War 2.0 testing phase coming slowly to an end, people have started panicking about which formations to finally choose. Like, people really don't know into which commanders to commit, but rest assured, in this video I will give you the 3 best formation recommendations for each side, be it good or evil side. I'm more of a role-playing guy, so keep in mind that whatever I'm going to say is more related to role-playing formations instead of non-roleplay. And as you see, we have only 6 or 5 days left before everything needs to be set in stone. So here are our best recommendations, and at the end of this video I will also let you know with which of these formations I'm going to play in the future. And with that being out of the way, let's get going. Let's start with evil side first. In front of you, you are seeing our 3rd best troop composition, army composition. It is revolving around Sauron, Shadow, Skullhelm and Witch King. Instead of Skullhelm, you could also play another elemental damage dealer such as Hestaro or Saruman, and instead of Shadow you may also use Lords, but I think these two are just fine. I prefer Shadow over Lords because of the very fact that his damage is more consistent, and because it is more consistent you do a much better job in getting rid of damage mitigating stacks such as Last Alliance like Isilu has, or White Council like Gandalf the White has. Or imagine if they had a Undying in the enemy formation, well, you could remove the evading stacks with the AoE attack of Shadow as well, with his follow-up attacks. So you get the gist of it. Let's continue. Let's get right into this commander setup. So his Sauron is based on a defensive Sauron. You of course want to have as much focus on his gear as possible, because focus gets so well with his top respect 0 skill, the Deceiver, and also R5 is scaling with focus. The enemy, it is called. You increase the damage output of your army by maxing out the Deceiver, and then you also decrease the damage you receive by maxing out the enemy. And the other 2 skills, like his bottom R0 and his R3, is just there to provide madness. That is the main mechanic of it. And yeah, if you have any leftover points, just feel free to go back and forth between these 2 skills. As special effects, we don't really have a lot to choose from at the beginning, since not everybody has the luxury of choosing what he wants, like choosing the best in slot effect. But I think for Sauron, one of the most important special effects is you either go with agility to increase the initiative. Now this is important because you want to have your madness effects proc before the enemy can act. This is why agility as a special effect is probably the #1 choice for him. As a fallback plan, feel free to have any defensive special effect. I think one of the best ones is evasive action, which is reducing for the first 3 rounds the damage he receives, and that is just great. If you plan to play him with mountain trolls who tank in the first 3 rounds, you just support the survivability with that special effect. So that's it for Sauron. Let's continue with Shadow. Overall, I see he has best in slot gear. It's just coming down to the best special effect. Again, not everybody has that luxury, but if you can, go with what was it? The War Cry, plus 20% increased damage in the first rounds. Or you also have another viable option like Might or Flay or Sharp Blade. Those options are definitely there, but in the end you have to equip what you have. In this case, it's the defensive option. Skill wise, make sure to have his R5 maxed out, followed by his top R0, the Undertaker. 1 point into this skill will also give you a bit of elemental damage, but I think after you have maxed out R5 and top R0, R3 is the main priority. Next one is Skullhelm, best in slot gear once more. I'm not quite sure about the special effect. He has equipped agility, which is pushing the initiative. He is at least making sure that his commander is snowballing. He gets to hit first. But you also have another very viable special effect called Law of the Arcane, which is increasing the elemental damage by 10%. That makes a lot of sense for Skullhelm, since I think it's a she. You are going to boost the elemental damage, the poison damage with a skill, the bottom R0 skill, R3, and also R5. Everything is elemental damage. Next up is the Witch King. You can play this commander in 2 styles. One style would be maxing out Black Captain and then focusing on damage that's coming from your units. And in that regard, you also need to change the gear to fit that playstyle. The second playstyle would be equipping items that is boosting commander focus, because the top R0 tree and R3 tree is boosting focus damage. And then, very important, his R5 skill also needs to be maxed out, since it is a debuff. It's a strong debuff. It is reducing boosting the enemy attack, defense, and focus, which is kind of very strong because good side has so many good damage dealers. This skill is a debuff which works hand in hand with Sauron's debuff the enemy, and these two working together is kinda a hardcore counter against the damage dealing meta of good side. You will see in the later battle reports why. But anyway, this is our number 3, and right now we have moved over to the second best evil side formation, and I think Ogluk is just doing an amazing job. And by the way, shout out to all of these players who provided these battle reports. Francis, Madison, Key Big Cat, thanks a lot guys. This is meaning a lot to our subscribers. They are really looking forward to possible commander formations. Nothing is set in stone, but this is what we came up with being like the best performing commanders in this specific formation. So Ogluk, right? In the past, he wasn't really played that lot, but in 2.0, he really starts to shine. He is such a beast when it comes to tanking. And here you see the mounted unit formation, which is also something I will show to you later in the good side recommendations. But let's dive deeper into this. So you want to have Ogluk, Witch King, Sauron, Shadow. What does Ogluk do? He is really providing some tanky stats over here with his R5 being maxed out. Make also sure to max out his R3, was it? This commander really shines with mountain trolls. Make sure to always have these here, and he will be your main tank for your army. Sauron, again, get whatever focus you can, best in slot focus gear, and yeah, you see maxed out R5, and the top R0 is also close to being maxed out, and in this case he is more focusing on elemental damage from Sauron. Let's continue with Shadow. This is truly best in slot gear with one of the best special effects. It's Warcry. I can't say anything here like this. This is perfect. Maxed out R5, maxed out Undertaker, leftover points into R3. It's just perfect. Make sure to have tanky units. It could be large units like war chariots, but it could also be medium-sized units such as raiders, like the Varg Raiders, or dragoons. That could work too. Champions, you get it. So yeah, this is our second best recommendation for evil side. Big shout out to our fellowship leader Francis. You are seeing his report right in front of you. He got my attention with this troop composition. I have never seen an evil side player having one shots against good side players like he is experiencing. Seriously, after seeing his reports, I pretty much saw that he is doing something many of us haven't discovered yet. Let's get right into it. So this guy is maining Kestaro, one of the best commanders in 2.0 right now. Shadow dealing the biggest chunks of physical damage in his army. The Witch King also is dealing elemental damage in his troop composition, while Sauron is providing the overall support. It's important to have Fell Beasts in your army since the meta right now is heavily revolving around medium-sized units. Like so many commanders have mounted units. Mounted units counter small units, but large units counter mounted units. So this is why it's not the only reason why we want large units. We also want them because Fell Beasts have high initiative. High initiative means that the initiative of your commander is also benefiting from it. And as soon as your commander benefits from initiative, he is more likely to act first, which means you get the luxury of snowballing. This is why we have Fell Beasts. High initiative for snowballing with commanders. Alright, let's get into it. Kestaro. Best in slot gear that boosts focus. That's the logic here. If you can get Law of the Arcane to boost your elemental damage, or let's say Warcry, or the evasive action to mitigate the damage you receive in the first 3 rounds, and then also make sure to max out his R5 followed by R3, and leftover points go into the leftover elemental damage at R0. Fell Beasts you have already seen, they have high initiative, and your commander's initiative is also decided by your unit's initiative. So this is a synergy here. It's just helping with the snowballing. The same goes for Shadow. Fell Beasts are tanking medium-sized units while giving the initiative to Shadow. Best in slot gear once more. You could go with Warcry if you have it. Sharp Blade is also a good option. Play or Might. But we still need to see in the long run which of these special effects end up being the number one. Just make sure to max out R5 and the Undertaker. Leftover points could go into R3, but make sure to spend 1 point into this Numenorian skill just to have a bit of focus damage along the way. Then Witch King. You should definitely get gear that boosts focus for your commander, and here you see he has exactly done that. By doing so, his R0 elemental damage skill is being boosted, also his R3 skill, and he has the debuff that goes alongside with Sauron's debuff. You know, the Sauron is providing the enemy debuff. That is pretty much meta right now. These two debuffs is a must-have. His Sauron has the special effect agility, and you will see that this Sauron has one of the highest initiatives I have seen. The reason why is you want to proc your madness before the enemy can act first, and then the rest just stays the same logic. Have your debuffs up to survive the incoming high commander damage of good side. And it's working wonders, guys. Seriously, this report is countering the high damage of dying so much, and it has really opened my eyes. So this is the #1 recommendation when it comes to evil side formation. Let's move over to the 3 best recommendations when it comes to good side commanders. In front of you, we will start with #3. My fellowship leader Landedin, who has volunteered with this report, is showing what this is capable of. It's not really perfected right now. He, for example, still lacks cataphracts for Isildur to make him a tank. That's the point here. Isildur is going to be your tank, but yeah, you will see better results once you have done so. Right now, you have Gil, Elrond, Isildur, and Galadriel in your army composition. If you don't have Galadriel, you could replace her with another Elven boosting commander. It could be Celeborn, it could be Círdan, but I think Galadriel is the #1 choice here. You have 1, 2 troop boosting commanders. Well, with Isildur it's 3, and 1 elemental damage dealer. Now let's see what he has done here. So boosting the focus of Galadriel is crucial. You should get best in slot recommended gear for that. We have tried out the healing tree. Unfortunately, the healing of Galadriel is just a letdown, which is why we have fully committed into the focus damage. This works much better. Then your Isildur is going to be your main tank in your army. Make sure to max out the R5 and also the bottom R0 tree. This is what he does. He is providing survivability with Last Alliance, and he is boosting the offensive with Great King. Any leftover points I would spend into the R3 skill and have cataphracts in my army to also give them a chance to follow up. Do not waste your points with the evade. I will give you 2 reasons why. First of all, it's just a 35% or so a chance to evade for only, and this is my second thing that is bugging me with the skill, it only counts for Isildur's formation, not for the whole army. These 2 reasons are enough for me to consider this not as good as his R3. You definitely want to have gear that is boosting the plus attack for your units, because plus attack is also scaling with Great King. Great King is going to increase the overall damage for your whole army, not just for Isildur. Then let's go forward with Elrond. I have been doing some testing with this commander as well. So far I can see that the R5 skill needs to be maxed out, and you could max out as a second skill this one over here, the commander damage skill, instead of going with the troops, because for some reason we have slightly better results with this damage skill over here. So, and I've also done various tests with gear, like I had hybrid gear that was boosting plus unit attack and also commander damage, but in the end my best in slot gear for Elrond ended up being troop boosting gear, which you see right now, like the Hunter's Guide. You could have a gigantic hammer or the Elven White Knife here, and then Ranger's Shroud followed by, I think it was the Carved Dragon Tooth. You may want to use instead of Sentinels the Keepers. They also do a fair amount of damage followed by elemental damage. With the follow-up mechanic of Elrond, that's just great. You can also have Bow Knights. As long as it's Elven units, it's going to work. They should focus on damage dealing. Next up is Gil-galad. Gil-galad is a great supporting commander. He supports Elven units with evade, also buffing their attack and defense for the whole army. It's a lovely commander. And Landedin is doing a great job with the skill distribution. I would also just copy this. Whatever leftover points you have, you should spend into his R3. Best gear definitely with the special effect, Sharp Blade. I think there isn't anything better than this special effect here. Bow Knights also makes sense. It's a medium-sized unit, and we don't really have a static unit composition. Whenever the army is running small units, you should have medium-sized units, and the enemy has large units, you could go with small units to counter it. Next up is the second strongest good side formation we could find. So this one is kind of crazy, because here you have mounted units commanders like Imrahil, Theoden, Eomer. Mounted unit commanders are doing something very nice, which is survivability. Imrahil is providing the overall healing, and the Theoden, Eomer are providing the damage mitigation and also the damage boost for the whole formation. And this guy, Branduil, he is an oddball. He has eagles, which are extremely good against countering medium-sized units. Like, the meta right now is revolving heavily around mounted units, mid-sized units. In this case, half-trolls are mid-sized too. He is basically countering them, but whenever you fight mounted units, these guys are doing a lot of work, and they receive less damage from melee units. That's just one of the best units right now. And Thranduil is a commander who is healing these guys whenever he attacks, or at least he has a 50% chance to heal them. Anyway, this is the idea of this formation. Let's see what they have done here. So definitely max out the healing skill at R0. That is one of the main mechanics. And he also has done the R3, I think, which is increasing the defenses for Imrahil. That is odd because I would have focused on the R5 instead, because that's giving a benefit for your mounted units in your whole army instead of just Imrahil. Have mounted units in your army. Swan Knights is nice, Cataphracts is nice, all of that works. Theoden, well, what I would like to do here is definitely max out the R3, because the R3 is boosting the damage of your whole army, followed by R5, that too makes sense, and any leftover points should go into Rohirrim to mitigate the incoming damage. Cataphracts is just perfect. I wonder how he will do when he has marshals. The same logic goes for Eomer, like you should max out his, what was it, R5? R3, I'm not sure about these skills because he is boosting the damage of Eomer himself. I wonder if it would be much better by maxing out R5 and also Rohirrim first, and then any leftover points I would distribute to these skills. But I still need to do some more testing with mounted unit commanders. This is just an assumption right now. And special effects wise, yeah, we haven't talked about special effects. I think the best special effects you can give your mounted unit boosting commanders is Sharp Blade. But in the end, it's coming down to whatever you have. Like if you can complete a good defensive set, that too is viable. But anyway, let's move forward with the last commander, who is Thranduil in this case. You see he has maxed out this skill that is providing commander damage, that is synergizing with his healing skill. Whenever he deals damage, he has a 50% chance to heal his units. Eagles can be tanky with that survivability. It's going to be a pain. Gear-wise, I'm not quite sure what to focus on here. Should it be plus commander damage or should it be plus unit damage? Only time will tell, guys. Whoever is maining this formation may feel free to leave a comment. Let us know what you think would be best in slot gear for Thranduil. What special effect is the best option here? Let us know. And now it is time to reveal the #1 best formation for good side. At least this is what I find very interesting. I didn't fight a composition that was stronger than this. It's giving us the hardest time, almost one-shotting us. This army composition consists of Dain, Beorn, and Gandalf the White. These three are a must-have. And as a last option, you could either get yourself Isildur into this formation, or it could also be Gil-galad. It could also be, let's say, maybe Galadriel, maybe even Elrond. But Isildur, Gil-galad, Galadriel, very solid options. Maybe even King of Man, but I still haven't seen that composition yet. From now onwards, these three are what I will call the trio. Dain, Beorn, Gandalf the White. Now let's get going. What have they done? Best in slot gear that is buffing commander damage. If you can get a Berserker's Raiment with the plus initiative for Dain, you could also get a Palantir, and then you are set and ready to go. That should be the best in slot gear. I think the best special effect for Dain is Might, then it may be Flay or even War Cry, and as a last option maybe Sharp Blade. But these four effects are your go-to. As your skills, you have a very sensitive skill order. You should put 1 point into Durin's Blood, 1 point into King Under the Mountain, 1 point into Ironfoot. That way you have the skill order right, and then you should definitely max out his R3 skill first, followed by R5, and any leftover points go into Ironfoot. You have the luxury of running mounted units like Ram Riders here. Ram Riders will decrease the defense of the enemy units, which means Dain is going to deal more damage. That is just insane synergy here. Nothing else I can say here. Like, Dain is maybe the best damage dealer on good side. I'm still a little curious about Gimli. We still need to see whaled out Gimlis and see how they perform compared to Dain, but so far Dain is winning the race. Next one is Beorn. Also a damage dealing commander. Get best in slot damage buffing gear. Again, I've done a video about that. Mimic whatever you're seeing here. Max out the R5, the skill R0 skill here, and then leftover points go into, what was it, the R3 tree. Have medium-sized units. Cataphracts are just insane for tanking. That works. Sometimes you can even have Beornings in your army. That too works. And yeah, this is Beorn, guys. This guy behaves similarly like Dain. Same special effects could work for him. Next up, Gandalf the White. Now, what does Gandalf the White do to make this formation shine? You should definitely get best in slot focus gear, because focus is doing two things here. I think it was buffing the White's debuff, which is basically increasing the damage the enemy units receive. That means Beorn and Dain will have a feast. They will deal lots of damage. While Focus is also providing damage mitigation by boosting White Council's special effect. So these two debuffs and buffs are the main reason why you want Gandalf the White in a damage dealing composition. He is providing survivability while also providing stronger damage for his damage dealer. And then you also have Cataphracts just for some tanking. And then we have Isildur, and Isildur does something very similar to Gandalf. He does it by providing survivability with his Last Alliance skill, his R5 skill. He is also boosting the offensives of his army with the Great King skill over here. Any leftover points should go into R3. Cataphracts will help you tank. It just works, guys. It's an insane combo. Here should revolve around boosting plus attack for your units. That way you also boost the Great King skill, which then again also boosts the damage of your damage dealers in your formation. So this guy has truly the best in slot here for his Isildur, and with Sharp Blade he's also boosting the plus attack for them even further. It synergizes with Great King. This is the #1 choice when it comes to good side commander formation. And now it is time to reveal what I will be rocking in the future, but so far the #1 recommendations on good side and evil side have convinced me. That means on my evil side account I will copy what our fellowship leader Francis has done. Kestaro, Shadow, Witch King, Sauron. I will use Sauron and Witch King as my supporters. They will provide the needed debuff to survive the damage output of good side. And on my good side account I will just do this. I will probably focus on Dain, Beorn, Gandalf the White and Isildur. I love Dain. He was always one of my favorite characters in the Lord of the Ring lore, and Isildur also one of my beloved commanders in the game. And yeah, it just works, guys. This is what I will be rocking in the future. And if this video was somehow helpful to you guys, let me know by leaving a like, consider subscribing and share the video. That way you are letting me know that you want more content and you're letting YouTube's algorithm know this guy is doing a great job. We want more content from him. It's a big help for Uncle Azra. And with that being said, I see you guys next time.